What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tsla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down a very big development on the charts. But let me just mention that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, what's happening with the markets? Well, what happened was we got some decent data. Initial jobless claims was decent overall. We got one of the best job reports we've seen in a while, right? The last time the jobs data came out, it was really bad. The market got a big rug pull, and we saw a lot of recessionary indicators going off. But this time, at least for the first week of August, things are not as bad. Wholesale inventories were as expected, and we also have the 4 and 8 week bill auctions coming out at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But all the data is very minor. We also have Barkin from the Fed giving a speech. Once again, very minor stuff. So the question is, what's happening from this point? I mentioned to everyone that the market is full of manipulation. They dumped the market really hard yesterday, which suggests that downside could be coming. But instead, what happened was the data came out and they started, pumping the market right back up instead. And then even though that was happening, even though the market was trying to pump since, the data came out, I warned everyone that, look, the market's going to likely push, but there is a very interesting trend on SPY. Notice how on Monday we pumped, then we dipped a little bit. On Tuesday we pumped and then dumped. On Wednesday we pumped and then we dumped. Today we're pumping. And what's coming next? We might see that dump. It's always a possibility. That's what we've been doing every single day of the week. We push and then drop. So we've been pushing. It's very awesome to see. I said if we broke past 525, our next target would be 528 on SPY. Notice that we reached the 528s, and ever since we hit that, now we're kind of like fighting right here. That's the top resistance. Had we broken the 528s, we could have gone all the way up to about the 531 area, but instead we're dipping a little bit. So if we don't hold above 528, I do see us coming back down to 525. And if that fails us, we could be dipping all the way back down towards the support. I would say this opening support is a level I'm going to be watching for our 20 EMA at 522. So I'll be watching to see if we get a little retracement on SPY. I want to just give you guys a heads up about that. Now, to be bullish, you want to break past 531. To be bearish, you want to see us basically lose 518. In my personal opinion, we rebounded a little bit, but there is one thing worth noting, and that is the fact that resistance is kind of tough and there's a risk of us dipping. Now, another question I have is, are we about to see a trend change? Because we had this low right here at 507. We pushed back up to 531. Then we dipped down to make a higher low. Are we about to start making higher highs and higher lows? Is the market about to reverse? Or is this a trap? And are we about to see a big rejection and a dip back down to new lows? So far, the trend remains bearish, but there is a sign that SPY is attempting to rebound. So we'll see if that ends up being the case or not. We're going to be very patient and wait. That's the best thing I can really tell you. For now, okay, we're not going to focus on that. For now, SPY has rebounded, but now we're testing tough resistance, and there is a risk of us dipping lower if we don't break past 528. For ES, it's the same thing essentially. To be bullish, you basically want to hold above 553.50. If we break past 53.50, we could be pushing higher. And then if we break that 200 EMA at 53.68, we would turn bullish. If we fail to hold above 53.50 and 53.25, those two resistance levels, there could be a risk of us returning back down towards 52.80 all over again, and that would drag SPY down. So watch and see if you get a rejection. So far, we're struggling to break past the 53.25 area, so there is a risk of the market rejecting looking at ES. On SPX, it's the same thing essentially. We've been trying to push, but we still have this gap down here, which makes me a little bit concerned. Notice how we hit 5,300. We kind of struggled to break through that. And then if our next target would have been 53.28 if we broke through that. And then if breaking that would turn us bullish, but we came just short. We're struggling to hold above 5,300, and I'm looking at support at 52.70. We got to hold that support. If that fails, we're going all the way back down to 52.50. And then if that fails, we have this big gap to fall all the way down to the 52.20s. So we look like we could be looking for a rejection off 5,300. We'll have to see if that rejects or not. So be very patient, at least nonetheless. For Tsla, this is attempting to rebound, but you're going to be looking at this key resistance right here, very close to just under the 200 area. Now, Tsla rebounded, which is great, but look at the trend on Tsla. Just check this out. Monday, we had Monday, right? Tsla pumped, then it dipped. Tuesday, we pumped a little bit, and then we dipped. So we got this little push and a drop after open. Wednesday, we pushed, and then we dropped. And today we're pushing. We got a nice push up to almost 200, but now this is a tough resistance. Break 200, our next target would be all the way up towards 202. And if we fail to hold above 200, we're retracing back down towards these supports. So another key level is 198 on Tesla. This is where our 50 EMA happens to be. We got to hold above that. If we don't hold for 1 hour, this is likely coming all the way back down to 195. And if that fails, this 192 is next. So I do see a risk of Tesla rejecting, kind of dipping a little bit. So just be careful for the time being. Just want to give you guys a heads up about that. For NQ, by the way, it's the same setup essentially. So to be bullish, you want to break past 18,629. We also have 18,500 as resistance. And we have support all the way down here towards 18,250. If we lose that, I'd be looking at 18,121. And if that breaks, we turn bearish. So I think what's happening is this tough resistance around 18,400 is being tested. We actually got rejected between here and 18.5 at least 2 times. So if we don't break this, we're going to likely retrace at least to 18,250 all the way down there. So I see a risk of that, and that could also affect the QQQ. Notice how the QQQ pumped all the way up to about 446. If this were to break, we'd be looking for 448. If not, 444 is our next support. If that does not hold, 442 is coming next, then 440, then 437 if that breaks. It looks like the QQQ is rejecting. You might see a little bit of downside, guys, so just be careful. That is a tough resistance nonetheless. Apple pushed up to 213, just short of my 214 target. But notice how every day we pump, then dump, pump and dump, pump and dump, pump and dump. So we're pumping so far. We pumped up to 213 only to come back down. Look at support at this 210 area, 210.5 specifically. We'll see if that holds or not, but there is that risk of downside. So just be very mindful of that and be very, very careful. For Super Micro, I'm looking at 504 as resistance, not to mention the 515 area. I think we could attempt to rebound a little bit on Supermicro. And the reason why it's outperforming the market is because we dumped 20% yesterday, so it was due for a little bounce. But if we reject and we don't hold above 504, this could be dipping lower into the 480s all over again. So we got to hold above 504, or else this thing is at risk of rejecting. It is rebounding a bit because of a counter trend move from yesterday, but there is that risk. Now, notice the IWM did rebound. We did call this out. I was looking for basically 205 and potentially 208 if that broke. We're in the 205s right now. We haven't been able to hold above it. So look at support at 204.9. If that fails, 203 is coming, followed by 201. Now, I think that there could be a trend shift here as we had this high here. We came down, made a lower high. So this could lead to a little bit of a dip. If we lose 205, look for a dip all the way down towards 203 and then the lower 200s. So just be careful, at least for now. For Coinbase, we pushed all the way up towards 193. If that breaks, we'd be looking for a push all the way up towards 195. And if we fail to break above that, look at support at 190. Got to hold 190 or else this thing is coming back down to 186. I think that there's a risk of us dipping back down to that level, but it depends if we could hold above 190 or not. So just be careful. I do think that there's a risk of us retracing to 186 if that ends up breaking. So watch 190 as key support and we'll see how well the market holds up. Coinbase had a very similar trend to SPY. Amazon pushed up to 166 only to come back down. Watch 164 support and then 163.5. If that breaks, there's a big gap to fill in the 161 area. We pumped and dumped, multiple times, and there is a risk of Amazon kind of dipping lower. So just be mindful of that. We're starting to see a shift right here. Meta pumped all the way up to 500 plus, a little bit above that. So we did call out the potential for 505, then eventually 510 if that broke. Notice that 500 is just barely holding. If that doesn't hold, we're coming back down to about 493. If we hold 500, this could try to bounce and push up for 510. So it all depends on the test of 500. If 500 holds, we're bouncing. If not, there's going to be a rug pull, so just be careful. Same thing with Microsoft. We got to hold above 404. If it does not reclaim 404, we're going back down to 402, eventually 400. So watch that just to be safe. And the same thing with Google. Look at 165 to 166 as resistance. If we break out, I think we're looking a little bit more bullish on Google. This is still holding up well. We could be looking for 165 to 166 as our resistance zone. But the only issue is, despite the fact that the setup is trying to push higher, it could push a little bit from here is what I mean. The issue is resistance is going to be tough around 165 to 166. We rejected 1, 2, 3 times already, so be careful at resistance. With that being said, that's my analysis for the markets. Yes, the market has been pushing, is trying to hold up, but just notes that resistance is getting tough. And for the past 3 days, the market pumped and then ended up dumping. Every pump led to a dump. So we'll see how the market holds up. There is a risk of that dump if we don't break past key resistance. As you can see, SPY is retesting 528, so we'll have to see if it holds or not. So be careful. Just want to give you guys a heads up about this. And with that being said, please have a great day. Thank you for listening, and peace out.